Hello there, my name is John Shepherd from Hemsley Fraser, and I'm here with Steve Thompson, Senior Director of Learning and Talent Development at Greystar Europe. Welcome, Steve. We're talking today about the relaunching of the learning and talent development function, Steve, which is something you're doing. Could you just explain to us sort of the thinking behind that and what benefits you're looking for?
Yeah, sure. Just to provide a little bit of context, Greystar has been in Europe for just over 5 years now. So, organizationally, we're kind of embryonic in our development of rapidly growing platform. But what that obviously implies is the learning function is also embryonic. So we've been going as a learning or true learning function, I would say, for the past two and a half years. Last year, April, we launched our online platform, our engagement hub, labelled as the Greystar Business School. But what we've really noticed as a result of the pandemic, the lockdown, the working from home, is the different ways we've had to think about our learning proposition to stay true to our initial learning strategy, driving the learning culture that we set out to create in the first place. But it's been a real journey over the past few months for us as a function. We were a team of 5, we've now gone sadly down to a team of 3. We've really had to look at how we can automate as many of our processes, our internal processes, as we can as possible, to really free up, our time to engage with the business. We've created a new role within that, which is a learning technology associate. That their role is purely to create, learning media, video tutorials, so on and so forth. So we've really noticed that is a huge area for our populations that they engage with, our internally created video content, our organically, developed learning content. So it seemed only natural, okay, well, let's invest in that. Let's invest in that side of the engagement approach. So as a result of that, automating the different approach that we're taking to the business, moving us into a more commercial space, there are so many changes that we've made that the business will benefit from, but also the business needs to be aware of. Is it came to the point which is, well, we can do our round of meetings, we can schedule a town hall, so on and so forth, but it was that little light bulb moment, which is, well, why don't we just relaunch, refresh who we are? And I don't know whether there's other learning professionals listening to this thinking, well, yeah, when we first went into the pandemic, I was being pulled to create this and this, and I had to get all this content out, and knowledge and education on COVID, so on and so forth. And then for us, it was exactly the same. And then we got to a point which is, okay, it's all gone a little bit quiet. And at that point is when we started to, focus internally. Okay, let's use this time. So, for September, it's a big month for us because we are going to relaunch learning and development across Greystar Europe. It's a huge marketing machine that comes in with that. And it's some big changes, but also some real subtle changes. So our primary delivery of learning, of course, is virtual and is through our business school. But it's creating our internal content as Greystar Originals. So if we think around, Netflix and Netflix originals, that kind of thing. So if we push out on a weekly basis, recommended viewing, recommended piece of learning, and there's a part of that which is Greystar Originals, which is Greystar content created by Greystar team members. And that could be Excel tutorials, it could be, certain departmental specific processes, but it's our team members teaching and educating other team members. And that's one real area that we've seen huge engagement, because people obviously recognize who it is that's talking, and they also know them as the subject matter expert. So we are looking to do more and more of that. So our relaunch will be, through a targeted marketing approach. We've got a whole teaser campaign that will kick into force. We've got a huge piece of work that we'll be launching Q4, which is a European Operations Academy, which again will sit within our platform. So relaunching learning in September is critical, because then that will be followed up by another huge marketing approach. And I think that's the other component that really stands out for me across Greystar in the learning space, is the importance of marketing and getting the messaging right and getting the tone right, getting the visuals, and just keeping learning development front of mind.
And Greystar as an organisation, and learning and talent development as a function within that, you guys have always been sort of slightly forward thinking on this, and you've been like with the business school and creating your own content and the focus on engagement. Do you think there's still value for functions or organisations that aren't quite as far down the road as you and haven't got quite as much to shout about in the relaunch, but still are trying to refocus their efforts? That's still a reason to sort of look at a fresh start almost.
Absolutely. And I think irrespective, even if it's a learning function that's mature and well grounded in the business, it's just refreshing what your learning proposition is. Well, what is it that you bring to the organization? Again, for me, a big driver in ensuring that our learning function is not only commercial, but it is value add, and it's seen as a value add component of the business. So I think irrespective, go back, regroup as a learning team. What is your learning proposition? What do you stand for? What do you represent? What's your vision? How do you add value to your organization? And then go validate that. Go talk about it, and put that back in front of people. Just remind people that actually you're not a function that just runs training courses, or you put a nice lunch on for the health and safety course, or whatever it may be. But this is around really taking the opportunity to position learning and talent, learning and development as a game changer, as a key business component, because now more than ever, when budgets start reducing, those lovely projects start going on pause. Actually, what are the pressure points? What are the challenges? And at that point, that is for me where learning development should be having that seat at the table and thinking, okay, this is how we're going to support that. That we're going to approach this differently, in a more innovative way, with less budget, less cost, because there's always a way that you can do this stuff.
So as part of that, Steve, in terms of relaunching and showing a vision and showing where we see things heading, we want to show that we've got an understanding of what's changed and what's going to continue to change, but we haven't got all the answers. How do you strike that balance of function between demonstrating leadership, but also being honest that we haven't got all the answers?
I think it's a really good question, and I do debate this in my own mind, I have to say, which is where there's chaos there's opportunity. That's a given, but it's what we choose to do with that opportunity. And I think for myself and for the learning team, we have the opportunity to create the vision as we see it, in parallel with organization strategy and approach. So my role is to basically translate that, create something meaningful, something pragmatic, and then present that back to my business area, or business areas. But a key element of that is really understanding my business, understanding my senior leaders. What are their challenges currently? What do they see as the horizon challenges? So you're absolutely right. We don't have all the answers, but we can quite easily sit and churn out the same learning that we did last year, but there's limited value add. So for me, it really is around understanding what the business challenges are, what's keeping my business leaders up at night, and then coming back within the learning team and thinking, okay, how can we approach this in a completely different way? How can we be creative? How can we actually support our leaders to deploy and implement what they are looking to achieve? So I think it's a very fine balance. Us as HR learning professionals, we've kind of been around the block quite often, and we've seen this kind of stuff, and we know what can work and what does work. So I think it's taking that, but then taking it to the next 3 or 4 or 5 levels.
Yeah. And just as a final point then, Steve, because you talk about opportunity and you're positive, you're looking at things positively. Just as a final sort of shout out in this time of sort of chaos and uncertainty and anxiety for some people, are you seeing some sort of positives in terms of seizing that opportunity or making changes that need to be made? Is there some good news out there?
I can only speak from my experience and own organisation, but absolutely. I think we can dwell on the negatives and on the challenges, but for us in the learning space, there's been huge amounts of positives. In terms of engagement, the consumption of the different type of learning that we're putting out there, the different approaches that we're taking. All of that stuff is great. And it motivates us as a learning team. And the conversations we have with the business largely are positive. But on the other side of that, what we're seeing as a positive is really trying to engage our population to get involved, create learning, own part of our business school. And actually, as part of our relaunch, we're going to run a campaign which is own the business school for a day, which is you as your function, create your content, you can push out, you can send your messages out to the organization. So that's what I'm really seeing as a positive, which is you've got pockets of the organization, not right away across, but there are pockets of the organization that are really starting to embrace this concept of creating their own engagement. It's not just learning, but it is putting the video contents out, talking about their roles, talking about their successes, so on and so forth. For me, that's a big positive that's come out from this, because we didn't see that before COVID.
Great. Excellent. Thanks, Steve. Some great ideas, great thoughts there. Thanks very much for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks, John.